All right, hey YouTube. So I just downloaded 400 Days today, and I played it, and I am reviewing it. So 400 Days, if you don't know, is the DLC attachment to the Walking Dead game, not the Survival Instinct, the one that's actually good. 400 Days came out of nowhere. I mean, we were all expecting, like, we heard that season 2 was already being made, but we didn't expect this DLC attachment. Like, this came out of nowhere, and it there was hype for it. I mean, like, the Walking Dead game is very good, so we do have high expectations for 400 Days. So, short review about 400 Days. If you like the Walking Dead game, then get it, okay? I don't suggest starting with this. I mean, even though it's being treated as its own episode, I highly suggest playing one of the original 5 episodes. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can't play this game even uh, if you haven't played one of the episodes. I don't think so, but you have to play the first 5 episodes, any of them first, before playing 400 Days, because 400 Days, even though it's good, it's just I feel like it's something that it's something that you have to like. It's something that you can't just jump into. It's not a jumping point. All right, that's my short review. Now, going to pros and cons, I'm actually going to switch up and start. I usually start with pros. I'm going to start with the cons this time. The cons of this game are a DLC attachment are first off, it's short. I mean, I thought this would be a very long DLC, but to be honest, it was very short. I mean, the game is you are playing 5 different characters and 5 different points in 5 different points of the zombie apocalypse. Like one character starts like 2 days in, and another character starts like 41 days. I mean, everyone starts at different points in the apocalypse. I started with Vince, the Asian guy who started 2 days in, and his story takes place. I mean, if you've seen the gameplay that they release, he is on a prison bus and he has to escape. And that's it, actually. When you escape the bus, the story ends. And I didn't like really notice it at first, but when it finished, it was just like, I thought there was more. Like, I thought there was gonna be more to the story, and it ended so quickly. And that's my main problem with 400 Days. Like, some of them do feel long, like Shells is probably the longest, but even then, it's it's still short. You still feel that it's short. And it's not a kind of thing where when you add it up, it feels like an episode. It feels like one of the episodes of the original Walking Dead game. It doesn't. I mean, like it just feels like you're playing a bunch of short stories. And I know that's how they marketed this, but the thing I liked about the original games was that they were long. Like each episode was long, and it allowed the characters to breathe, it allowed them to grow, and it allowed you to interact with them. Here, it's just like damn, bam, it's like they introduce a character, they tell you everything you need to know in the first few seconds, and then you got to do something, and the story ends. It was really frustrating how short each episode was, and um, that actually leads into my second point. It doesn't give you enough time to learn about the characters. I mean, the characters are likable as they are. I mean, like Vince, even though in the game he's like a convicted murderer. I mean, Lee Everett was also a convicted murderer, but I mean, when you get to know them, they're pretty good guys. The other characters are pretty cool. I mean, like, I think my personal favorite character actually was Shell, the older sister character. 'Cause I don't know, she's a likable person. And the other characters aren't that bad. I mean, you have Wyatt, who's like the comedy relief main character. You have Bonnie, who's like in a love triangle. You have Russell, who's kind of like the kid way over his head. And Vince, am I missing anyone? No, that's about it. Like they're all likable characters, the leads, and also the characters that they meet are likable. I mean, I did like Becca, the little sister of Shell, and even though he was like a villainous character, I actually kind of like Nate, like the the driver who picks up Russell. I thought he was actually a very interesting character. They're interesting characters, but you don't get enough time with them, and that is a problem. Like, probably you'll probably get to see them again in like season two, but it's just frustrating like playing this game and not being able to know more about these characters. So yeah, that's maybe it's a nitpick, but it's troublesome. And also another one that I noticed that it's actually a little bit more disconnected than it actually was than is actually advertised. Like they said the stories would connect to each other, but when you play it, it feels like they're like so separate from each other. Like, wait, spoilers. I mean, Vince's story connects them because you see the prison bus, and Russell's is connected because of Nate. Also, Wyatt's connected because of Nate. And then Shell and Bonnie's stories are connected because of D. I mean, like they're connected by like one thing, and that's it. They're actually other than that, there's like it's so different that it's like five different stories. Like they're not as intertwined as how Telltale Games kind of made it seem to be. And also, it's more disconnected with season one. Like, I thought this game would have like choices where season one played a huge role. And there are points where they did play a huge role. Like, the cancer group came back and they did mention the things that I did. Like, in my storyline, I left Ben to watch the boat. And they did mention it. They took a boat from a teenage boy. They mentioned that. But other than that, the major choices didn't really play into this DLC. Like, um, the only other one I can come up with was Doug and Carly. Like, you do find like I saved Doug in mine, and you find Doug's body. That's about it. But other than that, there's not a lot. Not a lot. I mean, Vince's store, you see Lee's drugstore, and you see Doug. I mean, like they mentioned Ben, so it's like it's not it is connected to season one, but it's connected in like small references. It's not That's my fourth major con. It's like they're missing huge story elements. Like I've honestly thought you would see Clementine, Omen, and Krista again. Like the ending, like there's actually six stories, but the sixth story you have to unlock. The sixth story, I thought they would do this huge reveal, like, oh, like the twist is at the end, all the main characters of the 400 Day stories, they somehow found each other and are now a group, and it's kind of unbelievable when I say it, but when you are at the epilogue, I honestly thought you were going to see Clementine, Omen, and Krista, or something like that, something huge that would connect this to season one. But you never get that huge moment. It just feels like it just sort of just ends. Like there's no real connection to season one. So that's my gripes with 400 Days. But I do have a lot more pros than I have cons. I mean, going into pros, the game is not buggy. There are some points in the game where it might freeze a little, but it's not as bad as like the original five episodes. It's also nice to just play the game again, because like it's been a while since I've actually played The Walking Dead. And I did mention like they are likable characters. The stories they told are actually very interesting. Like even though it immediately puts you into a tense situation, you like the characters enough to actually care. And that's something I always liked about The Walking Dead, the game, that no matter what character they introduce, even if you hate or like them, they do it in a way that like even though they might introduce a character that might be there for like a few seconds, the writing is good that you care to know about you care to pay attention to their story. And that actually leads into my third point. Um, Actually, fourth point, sorry. It maintains the same level intenseness of the original episodes. Even though you don't really know the characters as well as Lee and you don't feel as connected to them, the game still maintains that like intenseness that you feel like when like you ever enter an argument in the original episodes, like there's like intenseness in the air and like you feel like something bad's about to happen, you're just trying to diffuse the situation. That carries on into 400 days. And that's why I love this game. Like the writing is good that even though you might not know a character for too long, you care enough that you want to finish their story. And I admit, even though the tie-ins to season one aren't that huge, it's still nice to have those tie-ins. Like if I feel like I still feel like um I'm controlling the story. And this game does feel like a good segue into season two. Like I'm still curious how this story is going to play out with these five new characters. Like I want to see what's going to happen, in season two. So I mean that's all I have to say about 400 Days. I mean it's not on the level of the original game, but it's not trying to be. It's just trying to be that bridge. It's trying to bridge into season two. So if it was just trying to be a bridge, then it did a very good job. So that's all I have to say about 400 Days. Definitely a buy. Don't treat this as a jumping point. It Start with the original game if you haven't played it yet. But other than that, 400 Days is definitely something you should play. Okay? Nah, that's all I have to say.